Hello everyone and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. When planning for retirement, you must consider more than just your financial needs. There are also the social and psychological changes that accompany retirement, which are important for well-being in later life. So how can you prepare for it all? And here's the other question, what does being ready really mean? Well, my guests today are going to talk about that with me right now. We've got Katie Williams and Ainsley Carbone, both from the Chief Investment Office. Great to have you ladies both here in the studio. It's a fantastic question to ask, and I'm sure that a lot of people watching today are thinking, you know, I never really thought about that. You think about the financial needs, of course, that's the most important thing. Can I pay my bills, et cetera, et cetera. But what about the social needs? What about the psychological needs that we all sort of take for granted when you're going to work every day? So Ainsley, you wrote in the most recent edition of the Modern Retirement Monthly, what will retirement look like? And it encompasses this whole idea of more than just the financial needs. So help us understand what you mean by non-financial, because I know I just kind of broadened it by saying social and psychological, but it goes deeper than that.
Yeah, it definitely does. So when we talk about non-financial aspects of retirement, we essentially mean preparing for the emotional and lifestyle changes that you're going to go through when you start retirement and as you progress through retirement. So this typically consists of, you know, what is it that you want to do to fill your free time? Who do you want to spend your free time with? Where are you going to live? Because when we have retirement planning conversations, typically it's going to focus on hitting a certain savings target and setting a retirement date. But retirement is a multifaceted phase of someone's life. So in order to feel confident that you're prepared for retirement, it's important to sit down and think through, what about my life is going to change as I go into retirement? And then at that point, you can start preparing for those changes. And taking the time to prepare for those changes is important. And it's just important as a complement to the financial planning that you're going to do as you enter retirement.
Absolutely. And Katie, you know, it's something else that's talked about in the report is the non-financial aspects of retirement. You talk about why they matter and why people should really be thinking about that when they're planning for that retirement date. Give us some more details on what you mean by that when you say why it matters so much.
Well, it's not uncommon for people to conflate who they are with what they do. And so if they don't give the time and space needed to these thoughts and thinking through this process, they can actually find themselves a little bit lost or unsettled as they enter retirement. And so one of the things that we would recommend is actually doing something similar to the process you would with your investment. So taking time to sit through your thoughts about what you want retirement to look like, and specifically your time. So how do you want to spend your time? Who do you want to spend it with, right? And so, you know, I wish we had charts and graphs to help people, but we don't.
Right.
And so, and one of the things we have found in our research, and the report actually talks about, is that the people who report the highest sense of well-being in retirement is not necessarily those with the highest balance sheet, but it's really those who maintain the strongest social connections, so with their community, their friends, and their family. And so even though we have no reports to help you prepare for this, it's really more about you taking the time to talk about it with your spouse, your partner, and your friends, just so that they can all understand and help you prepare for the transition.
And it's sort of about finding a balance in everything, isn't it? Because as you said, it's the people that have maybe the most successful retirement or happiest retirement don't have the most money necessarily. So if someone wants to explore this, Katie, how can they get started? What kinds of questions should they be sitting down with their partner, spouse, friends, family to say, this is what, okay, here's my balance sheet, as you said, but there's more. What other questions should I be asking myself?
Well, I think we all give a lot of thought to like the first few things we want to do, right? We want to travel, see the grandkids, or whatever it may be. But really think beyond that and actually think about what would the ideal day in retirement look like. And what I mean by this is your time. Not only how you want to spend your time, but who you want to spend it with, to really plan out what activities or hobbies you might want to start. And I think if you're struggling, one of the best things to do is to think about before we were working or while we were working, what are some of the things you put on hold that maybe work felt like it was competing against or took away from, right? I know right now as a working mom, there's a lot of stuff I would love to do, like exercise more, that I don't necessarily have all of the time to do.
I'm with you on that one, you know. Not a working mom, but I certainly would love to exercise more.
Exactly, right? So maybe it's something along those lines. But I also think it's important that we balance that and be really honest with retirement is about a feeling of what we're gaining, but let's not ignore what we might have given up by retiring, right? So is it your social network? Is it a sense of leadership or an ability to mentor that you really loved when you were working and you feel like you're giving that up? If that's the case, think about maybe you could hang on to that with your company, or maybe you can recreate it in another environment. Those are just some ideas on the angles to think through as you prepare for retirement.
Right. I think a lot of us, and sitting right here in this beautiful studio, and outside of these walls is an entire office culture. Even post-pandemic, we're starting to come back in. But I know for me, as I see more and more people coming in, these are our friends. After you graduate from school or college or whatever you're doing, most of the new friends that you make in life are maybe your neighbors, but a lot of them are from your office or your workplace. So seeing everybody come back in, like both of you being here today, it's such a joy to be with you. So that's something that goes away when you quote unquote retire and you're not going to an office every day. So it's so important to think about, how important social, if we can all think back at 2 years of being locked down, how important those missing pieces were for us. I know that right away I was like, my gosh, not having any social interaction is really tough. I'm an extrovert. I know a lot of people are introverted, like this is great, but I think there's a nice balance that we need for social time and sort of alone time. But I think we have to think about that, especially in this conversation, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
So Ainsley, what are some of the steps that someone who is planning for their retirement should be thinking about, especially in the non-financial side of the story? How should they be thinking about planning for that?
So I think, like you both said, finding a balance is so important. Research suggests that people who are more active in retirement, more socially active in retirement and engaged with activities, it finds that they tend to be more happy in retirement, better mental health, and better overall well-being. So while it suggests that the more activity you do, the happier you might be, that's not necessarily the case. So it's important to find that balance, making sure that you add in that time to make sure that you're resting to kind of complement all those activities and hobbies that you're doing. So next, you want to figure out how you're going to transition. So what do we mean by that? Well, the retirement by definition means that you're going to exit the workforce and stop working entirely, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in retirement is going to stop working. So I think people should think about what they're going to do as they're leaving their work. Are they going to stop working entirely overnight? Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. You can also reduce your work hours if you want to. If you're looking for something maybe more creative, you could even think about taking on a different role in a different industry even that has less stress. There are so many different ways that you can transition, but figuring out which way you want to do is certainly important to kind of target. And then you want to establish your life outside of work. So like you were saying before, I mean, there are so many things that you want to do, but you can't necessarily do during your working life because we don't all have the time for that. So as you're gradually spending less time from work, more free time, you can gradually increase the hours, spending time doing those activities that you want to do more of. And by establishing it ahead of time before you transition, it's just going to ease that transition because it kind of sets a routine outside of your work life. And then lastly, most important, you need to share all these details with your financial advisor because by incorporating these details into your discussions with your financial advisor, they can help you incorporate it into the plan. And by doing so, you can make sure that you have your assets and resources set up to support that lifestyle throughout retirement.
Right. There are so many people who continue to work after retirement in some capacity. A friend's mom worked full-time for many years as a hospital administrator. After 3 months of being retired, she was so bored and missing her friends at work, she went back and arranged to go back as a part-time consultant. And she was so happy for a number of years before she fully retired. She's like, okay, now I'm done. Yeah. But it was like almost like she needed to, as you said, Ainsley, transition from that full-time intense workload to something that was a little less, but still gave her that interaction, helped her use her brain every day. It's really important to think about that aspect too. Thank you both so much. Great job on the report. You always come with great ideas. And I definitely feel like I should be preparing myself, even though I have a few years to go. I've got all these tidbits from you both that'll help me, I guess, get to the next level. So good to see you, Katie and Ainsley. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye. And for more information from the Chief Investment Office or UBS in general, you can visit our website at ubs.com/views. You can also follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, where there's lots of information there as well. And as Ainsley just pointed out, you don't want to do this alone. And Katie said it too. You want to consult with your family and friends and your loved ones, but also make sure to have that conversation with your financial advisor as you're thinking about that plan for retirement. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great day, everyone, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.